All right, so what we're going to do now is show how to do this airway dissection. And we can see the cat, we can see the trachea very plainly. You mind pointing to it? The trachea. And then the larynx is right there. And so what you want to do is kind of squeeze the larynx and feel where the superior end of it is, and then where it changes into soft tissue. And this is going to be about where the transverse jugular is. Now this cat doesn't have a well-stained transverse jugular, but the place that we'll be cutting is right along here. So the larynx is here. The part that is still hard is there. So a little bit superior to that, so just about where I'm putting my finger, right into the cat. That's where you want to cut, and you're going to cut very deeply. So this is not a nice cut at all. You're cutting so that you are cutting all the way deeply so that you can cut through the whole airway. And once you cut transversely here, then you'll be cutting along the sides of the larynx to sort of free it from the tissues that surround it. And what the whole object of this is to be able to pull out the larynx and look down into it. You might have to pull it out from under the transverse septum. She's cutting through the hyoid bone right now. And now we're looking at it. And you can see the epiglottis very plainly there. And you can also see two structures next to each other, making sort of a V. And that's the arytenoid cartilage. Okay, so now we're taking a look down into the larynx, and we can see the epiglottis here. And then we can see these obvious kind of little bumps right here. And you can feel that they're made of a hard substance. It's made of cartilage. So arytenoid cartilage here and here. But then attached to this softer tissue that's down closer to the base of the epiglottis. And so these are the vocal cords or vocal folds. And then another thing that you can see just behind this is the entrance to the esophagus. Okay. Hello. So now we're going to show how to do the pubic symphysis dissection. And what you want to do is feel along here for where the tip of the pubic symphysis is. Now this cat, you can actually see it a bit. It's going to be unlikely that you're going to see it in your cat, but you can feel it. So it's very important to find the absolute peak of the pubic symphysis. And that's where you'll start to cut. And you'll cut with a very sharp scalpel, and you'll cut through the bone. And you want to cut exactly down the middle. And as you cut, you're first cutting right into bone. But then, as you go further down, you need to cut through some more muscle in order to get to the bone. And you want to be careful about not going off to the sides, because then you're just shaving muscle off of the pubic symphysis, and you're not cutting through the pubic symphysis itself. Okay? So we'll show this process a little later on. All right, so we're cutting more assuredly through this pubic symphysis.
Oh,
and so you kind of can tell once you're through. You don't want to cut too deeply. You want to cut so that you're through the bone, but not beyond something else. And that you can kind of start to feel that when you pull the legs apart, that you're pulling the bone apart. And there might be still some soft tissue that covers, connects things a little bit, but once you're through the bone, then you're through. Okay, and another thing is that this scalpel blade type is a good thing to use for in there, and you can kind of push the bones apart with this blade safely. Okay, and then you can kind of use tweezers to pick at the tissue to find this large tube that's coming off of the bladder, but then running inferiorly, and this is the urethra. And you can follow that and then start to take a look at some other structures that are down here in the pelvic cavity, and we'll eventually see a number of structures there that we'll update you on. All right, and then once you can see this urethra going down, and then you can see that you have both of these bony sides of the pubic symphysis cut through. One thing you want to do is, with a sharp scalpel, kind of scrape as close up against the inside of the pubic symphysis. And just kind of cut here, and this side especially needs it. Cut here. So cut as laterally as you can. You don't want to cut just right here, just on either side of the urethra, because you want to try to save these things that are attaching onto it laterally. And so you want to go as far out to the side here with your scalpel, and then you'll try to bring things to the center